Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for Faith Formation on this Sunday. I am so glad you're here.
Good
If you're here,
morning. If you're here, what?
well, I was going to tell them if you're watching to please make sure they put that in the chat.
Oh, yeah, we'd love to know that you're with us today. Yeah, good morning, Brooke. It's good to hear your voice.
Yeah, well, my voice is all you hear. Like, you don't see me.
Well, no, I don't.
What are you doing? I mean, like,
I've seen, during the pandemic, kids and parents, we've seen so many people that wear their masks wrong. I have not yet to see this one, but there is a reason why I'm wearing my mask like this. Now, what would be the proper way to wear my mask?
Well, duh, over your mouth and nose.
So not covering my eyes?
No.
Well, if you wear something that covers your eyes, well, and it covers my nose too a little bit.
A little bit.
What would you call that? An eye mask?
Well, yeah. A mask or just a blindfold.
Blindfold. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, this is almost like a blindfold. But I probably should fix it and get it properly adjusted. Oh, hey, everyone. Wow. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Now, that's better. Okay, now I
There
think
we
we're
go.
actually safe and proper. But the reason I did that, there was a reason.
Okay. Yeah, I was hoping there was a reason.
Well, to remind us all that we need to wear a mask properly. And you know what? In fact, they've been telling us that the best way to wear a mask is to have either a two-ply, 2 layers of fabric, or to wear 2 masks.
Right.
So I'm actually going to put on my second. This is the one that I was going to be wearing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, boy, that really muffles my voice now, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, well, we'll pull this there. That's better. But besides talking about masks, but I really wanted us to think about blindfold, because when you're blindfolded, you can't see.
Correct.
And when you can't see, what does that do to you?
It slows you down. Like, you almost don't want to move because you're afraid you'll bump into something or.
Well, yeah, especially if you're someplace you don't know. Like if you're in your own house, you might remember like where a table or a chair is. You might kind of almost be able to figure out the number of stairs, to climb to go upstairs if you live in a 2-story house.
Yeah, but even so, you do it differently.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
you're not going to run up the steps as fast as you
No, not at all. You kind of are touching and feeling,
Right.
and just to make sure. Or maybe you ask somebody to help you,
Right.
to kind of walk through. And so I was thinking about this whole idea of being blindfold because it reminded me of this, not knowing where you're going.
Gotcha.
Not knowing where you're going. Can you say that?
Not knowing where you're going.
Because that's in our Bible story for today.
Oh.
Yeah, somebody did not know where they were going.
Oh, well, that takes a lot of faith to do that.
Yeah, they weren't wearing a blindfold, but it was like they were blindfolded. That was, I'm sure, what it felt like.
That can be scary sometimes.
So, yeah, and this was a man who God called to go someplace. He was living in one place. Let's say he was living in York County, Pennsylvania, and he believed God called him to go to Chicago.
Okay.
But he didn't. That was before there were maps. That was before there was internet. That was before there were cars and trains or planes. They had camels. They had horses. They might have had some wagons to carry some supplies and things like that. I mean, they had the wheel back then, but they didn't have much like we did, so he didn't know exactly where he was going. But God said, I want you to come and go to this land that I'm going to show you, and there I am going to bless you, and then you will become a blessing to others, and I'm going to make a great nation of you in that place.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That must have been kind of scary, though.
Yeah.
Huh.
So you were, we were talking earlier, and you said something about what would you take kind of stuff. Where were you
Yeah.
going with that? Help me out.
Well, just like, if you were going someplace like on vacation to the beach, I mean, we've had all of this snow. I'm sure there's some people out there that are ready for the beach. Or is anybody out there ready for the beach in summertime?
Yeah, I'm glad it's a dreary day today here in South Central Pennsylvania, but I'm really glad for the rain because the rain is continuing to melt the snow.
Yeah.
I want it to go. I want springtime. I saw some little hyacinths and daffodils poking up.
Well, and I've seen pictures on Facebook that people have shown their crocus and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's exciting because spring is going to come.
So I was.
But if you're going to go to the beach.
But if you're going to go to the beach, but you could only take like 5 things with you, what would you take to the beach?
Rubber ducky.
Okay. That wouldn't be on my list, but okay.
Well, some floating toys, to play with in the water and the waves.
Okay. I would take my iPod.
To the beach?
Absolutely.
What if you get sand in it?
That won't get sand in because I treat that like gold. It's not going to get sand in it.
Oh, wow. I've never thought of taking an iPad or a tablet to the beach.
Yeah, my
wow.
iPod for music. That's why, for music.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we used to take a boom box with batteries.
Yeah,
You'd have to make sure you had new D batteries, otherwise it could die after 10 minutes.
Yes, but I need music. I don't use my phone for music. So.
Okay, so you'd have to take your iPad. What else would you take?
If I were going to I would need a blanket.
Okay, yeah.
For when I'm on the beach.
Well, what would you kids take to the beach if you were going to go? I mean, because sometimes what moms and dads take to the beach or want to take are different than what kids want to take to the beach.
Chloe says she would take her mermaid tail.
Cool. Okay. Oh, I like that. That's kind of like my rubber ducky. Sometimes we take, when we have kids, we take, little sand buckets and shovels, and then we can make sand castles and sand houses and fortresses and with moats. And
it would be interesting. Brooke said she would take her iPod. I wonder what some of our other adults might say, if they might participate in this too, because this is a good conversation for the kids and the adults to kind of get their thoughts going.
That's true.
Well, it depends on how long you're going to stay, but if you're going to stay for the day, I'd want to take a cooler with lunch and some drinks, some water, and maybe a soda or pop. That's what we called it when I was growing up. We had pop.
I mean, as I'm thinking about this, the things I would take are things that would keep me busy and entertained, like my iPod, a book.
Oh, a book. That's a book, a great thing to take to the beach.
And kids would take toys and sand toys and stuff like
that. Pool toys. Dylan says pool toys.
Yeah, that's like my rubber ducky.
So there were things I would want to take to entertain myself, but then there were things I wanted to take that are provide comfort, like the blanket. I don't want to lay on the sand.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm going to take a blanket, maybe sunscreen.
Oh, that's really important nowadays. I mean, because we've learned how bad the sun exposure is over time. I mean, yeah, it feels good like when the wind is cool, but the sun is warm and you just want to lay there. But it can be bad to have all kinds of sun. So, yeah, sunscreen's really important.
And water. You said about a cooler. Like, yeah, water, because you should stay hydrated.
Yeah.
So when I think about that, and if I can only take 5 things, the things I'm going to take are things that keep me occupied, and things that provide comfort and safety.
Okay.
I think, when I think of it that way.
When I go to the beach, I want to take a bathing suit.
Well, that's a good thing, too.
Because, if you're going to be in the beach, you want to go in the water.
That's a good thing, too.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I don't do the water.
And then there's those, the sand shoes, or whatever you want to call them. Those are cool to have.
Oh,
especially if you go to a beach that's not sandy.
If I could only take 5 things, I'm not taking those shoes. I don't take those shoes anyway.
So I like this discussion. It makes me feel warm and look forward to summertime and all of that. But it also makes me worried because if you don't know where you're going, how do you know what to take?
Yeah.
Like if God calls Abram to go to the beach, he'd know to take his beach umbrella and his blanket. But that's not where God is. God doesn't tell you. He says, I want you to go to the land where to or to where I'm calling you. He didn't tell them where it was.
Well, that and how they were getting there. They couldn't possibly take everything they owned with camels or walking or whatever, however they got there.
Yeah, I don't know what, I mean, the Bible story doesn't really tell us what all he took. I can imagine back in that day there would be caravans, but at the time, we don't know if Abram was a man of means or if he was a poor man.
Right.
We just know that God called him. Now, and God promised to bless him. And so he had to trust God.
Mm-hmm.
Trust God. So, kids, I'm thinking about when you did certain things for the first time.
Like ride a bicycle.
Yeah. My granddaughter, Kylie, hi, Kylie, she showed me how she's learning to ride the bike when I was with her it wasn't over my birthday, it was over Valentine's Day, which was really awesome to see her riding on her bike. And it was a day like today. Every day was rainy when we were there. But I got to see her ride her bike. I was so excited.
Mm-hmm.
But when you first ride, tell me about what you're thinking.
Well, I remember when I rode a bike and I had those training wheels, and then you would take one training wheel off, But I had, like, my mom or dad or even my sisters would, like, kind of have their hand behind my back when I first started to learn. They'd be right beside me.
Yeah.
Kind of there. And, when I got extra wobbly, then they'd
kind of be there to make sure that you were safe.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't start on a full-size bike.
Nope.
I mean, we are fortunate enough in terms of, like, material culture that we have, but you'd start with a smaller bike.
Right.
One that's sized to the child's body.
Right.
And that makes it safe, because it's not safe for a small child to ride a big bike.
No, it's not. Not at all.
Yeah, wow. So, yeah, there's an element of trust when you go to ride a bike for the first time. It can be kind of scary. It's almost like you're doing something blindfolded, except you can see. It's just, hard to know what it's like. What about, like, I don't know if the kids can ever remember the first time they went swimming in a pool.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. Can anybody remember that?
Like, mom and
What
dad
happened?
are in the pool, or cousins or aunts or grandma and grandpa, and they're like, come on in. And you're like, the child's like, no, I don't want to go in. And you're like, come on in, just jump, I'll catch you. And no, I don't want to go in. And then sometimes they jump in, and some kids you have to kind of really beg, and other ones,
Right.
they just go right in, and
Right.
yeah, it takes some kind of trust.
Yes, it does, especially when and it's interesting as a mother, and I wanted my kids to jump in, and they didn't. I so wanted to not just catch them. You know what I mean? Just so they could totally get used to it, rather than just catching them. So they had to trust me that I was going to, but eventually.
Yeah, it's one of those things that takes a while for us to learn, but again, it's a situation where the young person is trying to trust mom and dad that they can have fun in the pool, because they see everybody else having fun, but they're just not sure how they're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of those situations.
Another thing is your first day of school, because your parents don't go to school with you.
No.
So you have to trust the teacher and the principal and all the adults that work in a school, that they're going to take care of you and be nice people and look after you, especially that first day.
Yeah, and it's not just your first day of school, like when you're going to kindergarten or preschool or whatever. It's also when you change schools.
Yes.
Because sometimes you move to a new area.
Yes.
You have to go to a new school, or you get to a certain grade. Sometimes there's only, like, primary schools, kindergarten through grade 3, and then when you go to 4th grade, you go to intermediate or 5th grade,
Right.
and that's kind of scary.
It is. Like, because I'm in an elementary school, and most of the children watching are in elementary school, so when they go to the junior high, the big fear is, oh, how am I ever going to find my way around that building? It's so big, it's too big, I'll never know where I'm going. And then when they go to the high school, it's the same thing. That high school is huge, how am I ever going to find my way?
That's like, I bet Abram felt the same way.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
How am I ever going to find my way? The world's so big. How am I going to get to the place that you want me to go? We don't, like the wise men, we just went through Christmas and Epiphany, and we were told how there was a star that guided the wise men, and they followed the star, and then they were able to come to where Jesus was born and visit Jesus, who was probably a young infant or a toddler by the time they arrived, brought him gifts. But there's no such that's not a part of the story about Abram. He just follows God. And so we don't know if he heard a voice of God saying, go this way. We don't know if the children of Israel, they followed, remember, a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night when God led them from Egypt to the promised land. So they had something to follow, but we don't know what Abram had.
No. Well, and does the story say any people that Abram met along the way? Because God uses people too. You know what I mean?
Well, there's precious little in that story. I mean, we could read it. I think maybe what we should do is read that. I need to get my Bible on my phone, and we'll read that. Okay, let's see. And you can talk while I'm...
Well, yeah, because I'm thinking about that. That God uses people to fulfill God's promises along the way. Like we talk about how we have angels, who look out for us and things like that. And we can be those people. We can shine the light of Christ for other people.
Absolutely.
So I wonder on that journey if Abram met people along the way. And maybe he didn't realize that they were God's messengers at that time, but that God put some people.
So you're going to really like this story now.
Okay.
You're going to really like it. The Lord said to Abram, go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. Okay, that's what he said. And then God said, I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all the peoples of earth will be blessed through you. And then this is the story. So Abram went as the Lord told him, and Lot went with him. I believe that's his nephew. Abram was about 75 years old when he set out from Haran. He took his wife Sarah, his nephew Lot, there it was, all the possessions they had accumulated, and the people they had acquired in Haran. And they set out for the land of Canaan, and they arrived there.
Huh. Well, that doesn't say much.
No, it doesn't. But it does say that they did take their possessions. So what that looks like, maybe like back in American history, a lot of the kids have seen the pictures of Americans that traveled out west with the Conestoga wagons and the wagon train that went out to Oregon or wherever. The kids will kind of identify with that. So it was probably something akin to that, although I'm not sure how many wagons they had, but they had, maybe horses, camels. Maybe they took their goats with them or their sheep. I don't know.
What did he say about the people and take all the people he inherited?
Well,
is that what it said?
It's hard to know.
So,
All the people he had, did they have slaves? Did Abram have his children? Although he didn't have children at that point. So he took his nephew, and maybe there were other, a brother or sister, maybe other family members and their families went along with.
Well, that's what I was
Because remember, Abraham and Sarah, they didn't have children until later. Sarah was 90 and Abraham was 100. So this was before they ever had children.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Like the way it was said, like did he take his whole family along?
Yeah.
Relative.
Maybe he took his neighbors.
Because, I'm thinking too, if that wasn't the case, if some family was behind, missing family. Like my sister just moved to Virginia. Virginia's not so far away, but it's different.
Sure.
It's different not having her an hour or 45 minutes or an hour away, that's easy to go and visit or
Right.
meet up or whatever. It's not so easy when you're 6 hours away,
Oh, that's too bad.
you know? So
You have
that's
to
why it made me
plan.
think of that.
You have to plan more.
You have to plan. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
different. It's
So anyway, this story is, it's kind of like we started out walking with a blindfold. Now it did say later on in the text they went to the land of Canaan, but at the beginning of the story, it's not as if Abraham knows where he's
Yeah.
going. He's trusting God.
right.
And Abraham, also known as Abram, is mentioned in the book of Hebrews as somebody that trusted God. And it said, by faith, Abraham trusted God when he went out. I'll see if I can find that. You talk. But I know it's in there. I learned it a long time ago.
Well, I'm thinking too, like, okay, so it was almost like he was blindfolded because, like, if I were blindfolded, here,
there you go.
if I were
Oh,
blindfolded,
careful,
no,
Brooke.
I'm not going to move too far. If I were blindfolded right now, I would be moving very kind of slowly. Like, I know there's a step here, like, I know the land of the sanctuary, but I'd still be very cautious. So, although I would imagine, this is just Brooke thinking, I would imagine as the trip went on, maybe because he trusted, he became, the trip was easier. But at that beginning, if it would be like blindfolded, like, oh, do I go here? Do I go there?
Yeah.
Are I sure? Am I sure? Let me test the waters first.
Well, you got
know,
awfully
like-
close there, Brooke.
Yeah, well, I'm taking it off now. But see, I would have trusted, if I were here with this blindfold, I would have trusted you or Lee, since Lee's right here too, to say, whoa, watch it, Brooke. I would have had to listen for that voice. And isn't that what we have to do? Listen for that small, still voice.
Yeah, we do. And I'm still looking.
Although you and Lee don't have a small, still voice.
Brooke, stop! Whoops, that's not the one chapter I wanted. I think it's in Hebrews chapter 11, but we'll see.
But that would be interesting too on his trip. Was it aloud or did he have to listen to that small voice? Because I think many times it's that small voice where God is speaking to us.
Okay, so here it is.
All right.
This is from Hebrews chapter 11. And it starts out and it says, now faith is confidence in what we hope for. So Abram had confidence that God was going to lead him, confidence or trust that God was going to lead him to this new land that he was going to live in. Faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. And then it goes on and it talks about all these people that had faith. By faith, God formed the universe at his command. By faith, Abel brought God a better offering than Cain. By faith, Enoch was taken from this life. By faith, Noah, when he was warned about things to come, went into the ark. By faith, this is the one, verse 8 of Hebrews chapter 11, Abraham, when he was called to go to a place he would later receive as an inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. By faith, he made his home in the promised land like a stranger in a foreign country. He lived in tents, and et cetera, et cetera. But it was by faith. Wow.
Can I make just a quick comment?
Sure.
Absolutely.
That verse is where our multi-generational praise team name came from.
By faith. Absolutely. By faith. And that is really kind of like the center point of what our congregation is all about, what our life together is all about. We are all on a journey from being born until the day we die, and that journey becomes a journey of faith as we allow God to lead and guide us. And that's what Abram did. And it was, we don't wear blindfolds when we come to church, but sometimes in our own personal lives, it's like we are blindfolded because we don't know what comes next. Like you kids, you don't know what you're going to be when you grow up. Maybe somebody, you want to be a fireman, or maybe you want to be a doctor, or maybe you want to be a teacher. A lot of kids want to be a teacher because you see teachers in school every day and you feel their love and compassion. but we really don't know what you're going to be. That's going to be something that as you grow and mature, you begin to explore. Maybe you've got a good mind for science. Maybe your hands are really good at building things. So, all of that happens by faith.
Mm-hmm. So that's the lesson of the story.
Yeah, that's why I had the mask on wrong.
Okay.
It wasn't really to tell our kids that the right way to wear a mask is covering your nose and your mouth, because they already know that. They're smart.
Yes.
And they probably already know that you should wear 2 masks or a double layered
Yep.
mask. That's even offers more protection. They probably know all that. But I'm not sure they knew the whole story about Abram.
I don't know either.
And God changed Abram's name to Abraham. And so either Abram or Abraham, it's the same person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's a neat story.
So we should close with prayer and ask God to help us when we don't know what's around the corner. Like this whole journey through COVID and the pandemic has been a faith journey for all of us in different ways. And a lot of people have reacted with anger and frustration. And I must admit, I've had my moments when I was like, I just want this to be over with. But we're on a journey, and we can't make it end sooner than it's going to end. We have to kind of keep moving through. We can't go backwards, and
Nope.
that's, so.
We have to go through.
Yeah, it's a faith journey.
It is.
So let's pray.
Okay.
Do you want to pray?
Yeah. Are we going to say the Lord's Prayer?
Well,
Pray the Lord's
sure.
Prayer? Awesome. All right. So everybody watching us, please join us.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Hey kids, we're glad that you've been with us today. My goodness, it looks like I'm hiding here. Oh, that's really weird. Oh, okay. There now you can see my eye. You didn't say anything. It was almost like my eyes were hidden completely.
No, they weren't.
Wow.
I think it's just on the camera they look hidden. All right. See ya.
Maybe you'll join us in worship a little bit later, and have a great week.